Other conversations.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Thursday, February 20th regular board agenda meeting of the Pottstown School District Board of Directors. Could I have a roll call, please?
Armato,
Here.
Bearden,
Here.
Heidel,
Here.
Hilton, Kancianik,
Here.
Johnson,
Here.
Klein, Lawrence,
Here.
Spence.
Present.
7 present, 2 absent, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I have a moment of silence, please? And the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Moving on, we have all of the board members. We will be leaving the meeting for purposes of litigation for our executive session, and then we will be promptly returning for the rest of our meeting. Thank you.
Did somebody turn the heat on?
Are you warm?
Yeah, but you know, sometimes if it's real hot, I can't breathe in here, so I don't want that either. I'd rather be able to eat too picky. Yeah, right, exactly.
So if everyone is ready, we will continue with our agenda by having the minutes and list of bills. Ms. Soku?
Yes, Madam President, I would like to present the minutes from the December 5th reorganization committee and regular board meeting, as well as January 16th board workshop with limited action items.
Thank you. Could we have Mrs. Johnson with the treasurer's report, please?
Yes. Madam President, I would like to submit the list of bills from the various funds for the period of December 2024 and January 2025, as well as the treasurer's report from the period of December 2024 and January 2025.
Thank you. Moving on to committee reports, we will start with Mrs. Lawrence for curriculum and co-curricular, please.
Sure, thank you, Madam President. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting and apparently so did everybody else, so poor Mr. Klein. Looks like he was on his own, so I'll apologize if I'm going to be more reading this since I wasn't there, but Dr. Lloyd Springfield had a slideshow on the student services mental health update. We get updates from all the different departments in there, and so it looks like she talked about several different grants that are going on and a new system called August Schools, which is going to track encounters. She said out of 3,127 students, 1,363 have been seen by a school counselor. I'm assuming that means this school year. She also talked a little bit about the Gear Up program, which has been going on too for academic support and enrichment, college preparedness, and family engagement, and also some of the improvements made with attendance with the home and school visitors. Mr. Oxenford then gave us a little update on the new comprehensive plan, which I believe he spoke about in one of the earlier meetings recently too, because it's due on March 30th. So you can look in the minutes to see more about what that's covering, but the documents actually are accessible on the district website. And I guess the co-curricular update is going to be was for the field information, which was held at the Facilities Finance Committee last week. And I guess that's it.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hilton for Facilities and Finance, please.
Thank you. So Nick Bieber from Herbine and Company went through our audit ending June 30th, 2024. It was a clean audit. And then Bruce Chrisman from EI Associates has updated once again the facility study, which he says is almost done. And added to this one was talking about the possibility of using solar panels and for geothermal at the Edgewood School. And then Mr. Willauer reported on the gas leak that had happened the day before our meeting that was fixed very promptly by PECO. He's working on the insurance claim for the middle school flood in the basement. One of the pipes and unit ventilator broke. And then he reported, and it's now happened, that cuts have been made in the parking lots around the high school for planting trees when the weather gets warmer, and that the middle school playground is on track for this spring. And then Mrs. Oakley gave a recap on the feasibility study, and the administration made a recommendation for one turf field and putting in softball field at Franklin Elementary School, which was not met with total approval by the board for further discussion. And then we have a contract with Wood Services. Ms. Jim, is that one person?
Yes.
So we have a contract with Woods for a student, and then she went over some resolutions we need to pass. And then we had a first look budget, which I would say was shocking. Looking at a $9.2 million deficit. This will be the most difficult budget, probably since I've been here, 15 years. Further discussion on that, and that's the highlights.
Thank you very much. Moving on to our Public Relations Community Engagement and Montgomery County Legislative, Mrs. Johnson, please.
Okay, so at the beginning of the Community Engagement Committee, I went over a slideshow with some of the different Black History Month activities and crafts and efforts that are going on in the different schools, which I always enjoy looking at those. Those are fun to put together as well. We had a social media report from Anthony Santiago. He provided a PowerPoint of 1 year of analytics of all the social media and the website, and we were able to see, where the most reach is, which Facebook definitely seems to have the biggest audience overall. We noted that prom, graduation, father-daughter dances, and those sorts of things awards draw the most views and interaction, because people are always super excited to see their kid either thriving in school or in athletics or any of the other social opportunities they have. We went over the property tax and rent rebate, looking at participation since we implemented that program last year. And we'll just say participation has been low compared to the number of people who could be using that rebate. So we discussed ways to get the word out to folks who would qualify, including reaching out to people who help prepare taxes and putting a note on the tax bill itself. Next up was advocacy. We talked about the need for cyber charter reform, which I will, in my roundtable remarks, have even more to say about that after the State Attorney General's report came out today. But we discussed that cyber charter reform is something that is in the governor's budget to some degree. Also in his budget is an increase in fair funding, that if we receive what he put in there, I believe it would be a $2 million increase for us, just based on the fair funding, even though the rest of the budget was not so encouraging. We also had the FAC update about their pajama Jammy Jam event, which is going to be this Saturday, February 22nd, from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. at the high school. And our next meeting is March 13th. Next up for me is the County Legislative Committee. We had that meeting about 3 weeks ago, February 5th. A lot of the discussion there was talking about the federal state of things, talking about what kinds of programs are impacted by federal funding, what it would mean and what it would not necessarily mean for the Department of Education to be shut down. And so that was a good discussion just for us to understand it's not all one thing, and just to have that awareness. Some of the funding that comes from the federal government includes some special ed funds, some Title I funds, Medicaid, school-based access, Head Start, school nutrition programs, and a variety of other grants, which are not all in the same, it was discussed that should the Department of Education be shut down, that does not necessarily mean that all of that funding just goes away, because it is approved not just via that department, but via other acts of Congress. We also discussed the E-rate case, which I don't think anything has happened since that meeting, but E-rate is where we, and I might botch this a little bit, but E-rate is part of how we have some of our connectivity funds reimbursed via utilities bills, but that's been challenged and is now in the Supreme Court. And if they rule against that, that could mean loss of that funding. We discussed the governor's budget at that meeting as well, and we discussed a collective advocacy project which is underway to write letters to the editor, both from the folks in that group who are school directors in Montgomery County, as well as some of our colleagues in Chester County and Delaware County and other folks who are associated through the advocacy groups that I'm a part of. We are collectively working on letters to the editor talking about why public education matters, because both the national discussion as well as the state budget discussions, sometimes it seems really important to remind the public about the magic of public education and how public education is there to serve absolutely every student, all of their educational needs. It is something that no private school voucher program or even charter and cyber charter can do. And so we need to make sure we protect and strengthen public education. So there's going to be a number of letters to the editor going out from different folks around the state. There already have been some out, and I'm looking forward to that project.
Great. Thank you very much for keeping us in the loop on those projects as well, outside of the board. Moving along, Mrs. Kancianek for PSBA.
Yes, I only have two things to note. Spring Advocacy Day is May 13th. It will be in Harrisburg. We can register for it on the PSBA portal. Also on the portal, there's some webinars that I found interesting. The one that already happened, but you can watch it, it's a recorded version, is outlining the governor's budget and what it means for the schools. And the other webinar is coming up in March, and it's about immigration policies and how it affects schools. And that one, both of them are free, but that one you can like pre-register for. That's it, thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Lawrence, MCIU, anything?
No, I was not at the meeting, and for some reason I didn't get the minutes yet. So next time when I have a chance to check them, I'll add that in to me.
No worries, thank you. Our student board rep, Elias, how are you? Good to see you.
Thank you. To start, I don't have a report from the middle school, Barth or Lincoln, but I have Franklin, Rupert, and the high school. So I'll go over that real quick. With the high school, winter sports wrap up with the girls basketball team ending with 9 wins compared to last year's record of 0. Girls wrestling hosted their first ever PAC championship I believe the high school. The spring sports, we're starting their preseason. We have free spring physicals coming up as well. The girls flag football team, the Chicago musical. The dates for that are going to be February 28th, March 1st, 2nd, 6th, 7th, and 8th. The snowball dance that passed, we had 100 students that attended. All were academically eligible. We also have the board game club that we have, the students versus staff basketball game. DECA is at States in Hershey right now. And then we had our first Voices for Education meeting yesterday for the high school. And then moving forward for elementary schools, for Franklin, we had Popcorn Day, Franklin Activity Night, Whiteout, Laser Light Show for the Black History tribute, Spirit Week, Bingo Night. Next thing we have is Rupert. We have the Impact home visits. First and second grade had their tennis and STEAM session with Potsdam Tennis Foundation, and live animal assemblies. And the last thing I have is conferences.
Thank you so much. I will just fill in for Mr. Klein, as he was covering for us all. On February the 6th, we had our policy and personnel. And Mr. Boyer provided an update on the 2024 regulations, adopting new policies. And then we looked at the policy 216 for student records, some informational items for the new website for school districts in Montgomery County. And the next meeting date will be March the 6th. Moving along to report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, first of all, let me just take a moment to tell you about our wonderful student board reps. Elias is here right now, but I want to brag about them. They are really, really great examples in the school. I got to meet with them yesterday. They very passionately said, we want to be a part of the advocacy campaign that's going to go on this spring, and I'm just very, very proud of them. They're excellent representatives of our school. But as a part of my report, I wanted to address 3 different subjects very briefly. The Pottstown School District understands that the recent changes to the immigration enforcement policy has created uncertainty for many of our communities. Our priority remains the safety and well-being of all of our students, families, and community. We are working diligently with legal counsel to fully understand the implications of this policy shift and determine the best way to support our students, their families, as well as our staff. We are committed to creating a welcoming and secure learning environment for every child, and we will continue to monitor the situation closely and adapt plans as needed, always keeping our students and our families as the priority. And Mrs. Johnson mentioned this a little bit, but I'll simply add the district is also aware of the headlines concerning the United States Department of Education and potential future administrative and/or funding changes. We continue to stay in contact with both state and federal representatives to understand the potential impact on our community. Like many other districts, we anticipate more change and potential judicial action before we know how or if it will affect us. Nevertheless, we remind ourselves that our district has seen difficult times before, and we take solace in our mission, which is to prepare each student by name for success at every level. We have 150 years of history of educating students with over 22,000 graduates who have distinguished themselves in a wide variety of endeavors. We will continue that tradition because we are a strong, diverse, and proud community. Before I turn things over to Mr. Boyer, I also want to address the next few agenda items. It is with heartfelt gratitude that we recognize the exceptional service and unwavering support and commitment of our long-standing Pottstown staff members. Their dedication has deeply impacted countless students, colleagues, and our community. We celebrate their immense contributions to shaping student futures and fostering growth, compassion, and excellence within our schools. As they begin their well-deserved retirement, we extend our sincerest thanks and best wishes. Their legacy will inspire future generations, and we are forever grateful for their positive influence. They give us all the more reason to say, proud to be from Pottstown. With that, we'll move on to the rest of the agenda and use our usual tag team motto, and I'll ask Mr. Boyer to address some of those personnel subjects.
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. Good evening, school board members. For 8.1, resignations and terminations, you'll see that we have 14 professional resignations, 13 of which are retirements. I'd like to mention a few things about each one of them, if that would be okay. Deborah Wilson, 5th grade teacher, currently at the middle school, has been here for 35 years. Long time. Laura Lazeski, a math teacher at the high school, has been here for 21 total years. Mary Lammy, 1st grade teacher at Barth, has been here for 29 years. Robert Decker, math teacher at the high school, has been here for 28 total years. Terry Spitko, a speech pathologist, has been here for 33 years. Heather Kurtz, teacher at Lincoln, been here for 32 years. Amy Selman is a speech pathologist, has been here for 34 years. Karen Seaman, a teacher, special education teacher at Lincoln Elementary School, has been here for 35 years. Jacinda Bartolucci, teacher at Rupert, kindergarten teacher, has been here for 36 years. Denise Lishak, who is an MTSS coach currently at Lincoln Elementary School, has been here for 26 years. Nancy Mest, a music teacher in the district right now, has been here for 26 years. Tom Marsden is a school counselor at the middle school, 25 total years. And Ginger Angelo, who is a teacher at our middle school, has been here for actually 32 years. And we wanted to recognize them individually for all their efforts with our students and youth. exempt. We have one retiree, Sherry Stagmimer, who has been an occupational therapist, who has been here for 19 years. And under classified, we have 3, and one of them is a retirement, Mr. Levert Hughes, who has been a student service coordinator at our middle school for 26 years, and also our high school football coach. So I would like to recognize them. Sorry, I took a little longer, that section. All right.
Worth it.
Personal leaves, 9.1. We have one professional leave. 10.1, change in position and salary. We have one classified. 11.1, elections. We have 2 professional elections, 6 classified. And you'll also see in the exhibit attachments the musical and stipends for your approval. 11.2, co-curricular assignments. In the attachment, you'll see the updates for our co-curricular assignments. I believe there's 2. There's 2. 12.1, horizontal movements. In the file attachment, what you'll see is the professional staff recommended for horizontal salary. 13.1, professional leaves. We have 4 professional leaves. 14.1, field trips. In the file attachment, you'll see the following field trips for your approval. 15.1, policy, which is policy 216, student records. You'll see for your approval. And 15.2 through 15.6, we are recommending that the board nullify the previously approved 2024 Title IX policies that we had approved on November 21st, and then reenact the 2020 Title IX policies. That concludes my section.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Madam President. Board members, tonight for your consideration is one special education contract, the annual acknowledgement of our school district audit that was reviewed at the last finance meeting, resolution for real estate tax exoneration, which turns over our delinquent taxes to our delinquent tax collector, Act 57 waiver, which is another annual resolution which gives authorization for us to remove penalties if needed for parcels that have been recently transferred ownership. Act 55 resolution, which is the Ready to Learn block grant, where we are acknowledging the $1,048,619 we received under the tax equity supplement and the allowable uses. And that concludes my items, Madam President.
Thank you. Do we have any hearings from the patrons, please, for the general and consent items that are signed in? We don't have any?
Yeah. Oh, didn't see you put on.
I came late. I thought there was gonna be a executive meeting, so I came late. You
Could
say
you
your thing
state-
first?
Could you state your name, please, and address, and please refrain from directing any specific comments to the board. Please know that we will not respond, and try to keep your comments to a minimum of 3 minutes or less, please.
I can agree to all of that.
Thank you.
Doug Slick, 474 North Evans. I'm gonna be extremely brief because Mr. Rodriguez actually already addressed my concern. But I scraped ice off my windshield to come down here tonight, so I thought I would at least take a minute to reinforce that literally every community and neighborhood meeting that I've been to recently, the specter of ice has showed up. And so I wanted to make sure that the board was, and I'm not surprised to hear that you are addressing it, that you have some kind of contingency plans if the van pulls up at one of our buildings, or the other alternative could be that one of our students goes home and finds out that their family is no longer there. So I appreciate your concern. I know that probably everybody in this room is on the right side of this issue, and I appreciate that you're on top of it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone signed in virtually for general and consent items?
We have one, President. We have one.
Thank you. Can you please let us know when they are in?
While we're waiting on that, when did all of these other, items, did they come on here today? Like 14, 15, 16, 17?
No.
When did they go on? Because when I looked at it, I did not see any of these.
They've been on since we actually had prep, so that would have been
It's been
Tuesday.
on since Tuesday.
Interesting.
I'm ready when you guys are.
Thank you. Could you please state your name and address?
Yes.
And please keep your comments or less. Thank you.
Mercedes Jackson, High Street, Pottstown, PA. So I just wanted to weigh in a little bit on the student versus teacher. If there's a way that the school district can have, like, parents can come in, because I know that when students were taking it back to their families, there was like people who would have loved to see that as well. And then maybe like for the parents who are local, like for the, local Pottstown parents, it'd be like $1 for them. And then if it was somebody coming from, not in our district, $2 for them. I just thought that'd be a fun way to get some revenue into the district. In regards to Black History, I see a lot of people wearing some really cool Black History shirts. There's so much more than to that than just wearing the shirt. So, just go up and talk to anybody who's Black and brown in your community. I'm sure we can tell you some stories. It doesn't have to be somebody who's no longer here. There's probably somebody you're sitting right next to that can tell you an experience of living in some Black and brown skin. And also too, I just want to put this out there too, is for some people there are some people who's real quick to say kids lie and they're not believable. But I'd rather listen to a kid and believe what they have to say and be wrong than not listen to them and it be something very serious. So I just wanted to put that in there because that was weighing heavy on my heart. And again, FAC on the 22nd, Pajama Jammy Jam, and hope people can get out to that. We've seen that on the list, so thank you for that. And everybody have a great night.
Thank you. Any other patrons signed in for general and consent items virtually?
Not at this time, Madam President.
Thank you. So I will ask for action from the board. If there is any communication needed in relation to the minutes, list of bills, and treasurer's report? No?
I have a question. So we're approving policies all the way back from November meeting, December meeting, and this meeting? Is that what we're doing, Mr. Boyer? Like policy 234, 104, 103.2, 103.1? It says they're approved, because we had to go back and change it, because, okay.
Yeah.
All right, I understand.
Remember, I think we talked about it in committee.
We did, but I didn't know it was all of these. I thought it was just one.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other?
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, I will ask for a motion to accept the minutes, list of bills, and treasurer's report as explained.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then I will ask for any dialogue on board consent items 8 through 20. Any dialogue needed on those items? No? Okay, yes.
I just want to say some of those teachers and stuff that are retiring, I had, and my kids also had, and so it's weird to like even process. And I don't even know what I want to say, so there, that was it.
I was actually going to save it for roundtable,
Okay.
that some parents and students had the same teacher, and that is amazing.
Yeah.
In current day and age, and I won't go into it, but in current day and age, you hear so many stories, but it's just wonderfully refreshing to know. You're sad for them leaving, right? Because we have some great tenure, and then you have the happiness for them. They're gonna have that enjoyment of the next stage, next phase of their life, whatever that is that they choose to do. But it's amazing that, you have parents and students who've had the same teachers.
So the joy that you feel of some of those individuals retiring that you had perhaps contact with when they were teachers, I had contact with when they were students. So, just saying.
Well, you had 3 levels there. I see that, I see. Any other dialogue on same? Okay, so I will ask for action on consent items 8 through 20. Could I have a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Hilton,
Aye.
Johnson,
Aye.
Vital,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Spence,
Yes.
Kancanick,
Aye.
Bearden.
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 absent, motion carried.
Thank you. Moving into non-consents. Mr. Kalis, please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On the agenda for approval tonight is a confidential settlement agreement, which was the subject matter of our executive session.
Thank you. Hearings from the patrons, limited to the non-consent items. Anyone? Virtually anyone?
Not at this, Madam President.
Thank you. Board action, any discussion needed? Seeing and hearing none for sure, I would like a motion to accept.
So moved. Second.
And a roll call vote, please.
Bearden,
Aye.
Vital,
Aye.
Armato,
Aye.
Hilton,
Aye.
Kancanick,
Aye.
Spence,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
8 ayes, 1 absent, motion carried.
Thank you. Information items, Mr. Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. As you can see, we have 2 items. I would like to personally invite you to our high school musical. You'll notice that's not the all-district musical. As a reminder, all-district is 1 year, then high school is the other year. I know that both the producer and director are very excited to bring you the family-appropriate show called Chicago. And I say that because that's how it was listed. And I think we are going to see some real skill come out of our students. I'm going to be there opening night. It's February 28th. They're running it 2 different weekends. I highly suggest you pay the lower cost online rather than the smidgen higher cost at the door. So that is my invitation. And Mrs. Oakley, I'll let you cover the monthly meeting notice.
Yes, the monthly meeting notice for March is attached.
Thank you. Moving on to Federation remarks, please.
Hello, everyone. I just have a couple of brief things. It was mentioned earlier, but at the high school, we had a faculty versus student basketball game, which was the first one we've had there since I've been there, which has been a while. And it was received well. The students loved the break and just a fun afternoon. It wasn't kind of like the same old that we've been doing. So it was a good break and a fun afternoon for everybody. And it was fun to do something new. And then at the middle school, they had 2 things they were celebrating. Today, they actually celebrated their 6,000th book being checked out of the library. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a big accomplishment there. And then they also had a celebration at Ringing Rocks roller skating rink for 5th and 6th grade that celebrated academic excellence in growth areas for all different areas. So that is a fun reward for those students that work really hard. And then the last thing I just wanted to mention is that we continue to, we have our own Facebook page that highlights what teachers are doing good in the classroom and outside the classroom. So if you, do social media, definitely join us and be friends with us and see all the good that everyone's doing. So that's it.
Who won the game?
What do you think? What?
The teachers, of course.
It was a great like back and forth actually, and it was fun to see, and it was like different groupings of students, and it was fun to see some of the teachers now that used to be students, and then kind of trying to go back to their heyday and but it was good, and kids were really excited for it because it actually got delayed because we had a virtual day when it was supposed to be because the weather, but yeah, it was good, and those of us that were watching, we were like, oh, some of those people are gonna be pretty sore tomorrow. So yeah, there were a lot of breaks from the teachers had a lot of switch outs. Yeah.
Good for them. Way to brave it.
It was.
Roundtable. Start with Mrs. Kancianik. You had the face, you were ready.
Yeah,
It was the way you contorted your mouth.
Everybody already said. I know, I was gonna talk about Chicago, but that was covered, so, thank you.
Ms. Spence.
Thank you. I like unions. My dad was a union leader. He, the little bit of time I got to know him as an adult, he was the leader of the Transit Authority Union. And he would share with me stories on how collectively they would fight just for fairness, not even just to be treated above, their so-called employer, but just to be fair, and he told me that I should always have respect for unions because it's a really hard, difficult challenge to be a part of it and even to be in leadership because they're always attacked. And he was attacked many times. He forever had this knot like on his head from being hit with a bat at a rally. So unions are really important to my heart. And I don't understand how the policy 005 decides to give the superintendent the power of the board to do our job, really. So I don't like that policy where, not personal, superintendent, but I think that one person having power is unchecked, is power unchecked, right? And I think we can see it in a broader picture in the country right now. And I think on a micro level, I think the board should start to regain their power back and be able to be at meetings and not excluded from meetings or getting hearsay from certain people that attend. So I do have a positive thing. It's not going to be a negative roundtable. I attended the basketball game, 2 basketball games. Go Lincoln, second, third, and fourth graders did a great job in their championship game, their playoff game, and I think they got the fundamentals pretty in the area, I think, of where they should be. Shout out to Mr. Gibbs. I think it's a great thing that young man is doing, having a league for that age so they can learn the fundamentals. And I would love that he get the support that he needs to, and continue to do that, because I saw a lot of Pottstown School District and a lot of excitement, like with your game. So that's all I have for roundtable tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Heidel. Mr. Amato.
Yes, thank you. So earlier today, I had the opportunity to be with our middle school students that are involved with the Monco 360 program, and they toured the Universal Concrete Corporation here in Pottstown, and a great learning experience for them, but also for me, very interesting that many of the people that we came in contact with, whether they were management people or production people, were Pottstown graduates. which again, gives me more opportunity to say what I like to say, and that is proud to be from Pottstown. Later on in the day, I traveled over to the middle school where our career technology programs from the high school were putting on a career fair for their students. And I don't think that anybody here needs to be reminded, but I will say it anyway, that Pottstown High School is one of only 12 schools in the entire state of Pennsylvania that is a comprehensive school, meaning that our academic programs and our career technology programs are all housed in the same facility. And they just do an outstanding job. Watching today, it was not teachers doing the educating, it was students doing the educating about their programs to the middle school youngsters and letting them know what opportunities are available for them once they get to the high school. So I found that very, very rewarding, and again, another reason to say proud to be from Pottstown. So I'd like to call out Mr. Hilton just for a second and recognize something that he has been doing for a number of years that shows his commitment to our school district and our community. And twice a week, if you are a still like old time person, read hard copy newspapers, twice a week, he, out of his own pocket, funds an area in the paper some people refer to as infomercials, where he presents a great deal of information on a number of very wide range of topics, and I will say that I find them educational, interesting, thought-provoking on occasion, and I have to admit that there are sometimes I just don't get the point of what it is that he's saying.
You and me both.
Yeah. So one, I'd like to recognize that and add that to, quite honestly, another reason to say proud to be from Pottstown, because I don't know too many local communities that have something like that. To that end, several of the infomercials that you did most recently dealt with a term that I was not ever used to using in education, return on investment. And so it made me think an awful lot about, okay, what's that really mean? And I started thinking about in the little sphere that I have of graduates of Pottstown and thinking about where they have gone, what they have accomplished. And as Mr. Rodriguez pointed out earlier today in one of his comments, over the course of time that Pottstown High School has been in existence, and it is one of the oldest high schools in the state of Pennsylvania, we've had over 22,000 graduates. And I feel very confident in saying, I'm not sure that we could find a field of endeavor, whether it was in economics, science, education, medicine, media. Yeah, I don't know that I could find, yes, most definitely. So I don't know that I could find a field where I could say there are no Pottstown graduates that have contributed to society. So to that end, return on investment, because several of the times you've said, hey, schools really don't check on where their graduates go. So I'm assuming then that you would be supportive of some type of effort that we made to track our graduates, to truly find out what type of return we have on our investment, whether it is us as a school district, us as a community, or us as a society. This is where you get to say, yeah, I'm all for it.
Well, when you think about it, the Hill School, it gets a lot of money from its alumni, and I think they have maybe 12 or 13 full-time people that are doing nothing but tracking their alumni because, you know, they're looking for money. So it can be done. It would be a difficult task. It's not unheard of.
my question was, since we are not the Hill School, thank God. My question was, your point is well taken. If we want to truly find out return on investment, would you be supporting us coming up with some means of tracking where our graduates have gone and what they are doing? Okay, then we'll be in the process of coming up with something.
Okay,
Thank you.
real quick, John, I like to use the term advertorial instead of infomercial. It's an advertisement, but an editorial, advertorial.
Take your pick.
Thank you.
Mrs.
Lawrence,
I have
I catch your arm until you looked up at
nothing
that.
important today, no, nothing.
Mrs. Johnson.
So as I mentioned earlier when I was presenting about some advocacy things, a audit came out today from the state auditor general, not attorney general, auditor general. He and his team had audited 5 different statewide cyber schools. And the findings were mind-blowing. Just a few numbers I wanted to share. Between those 5 cyber schools, which had 44,000 students in them altogether, they have massive fund balances, which come from the tuition that we school districts have to pay them. The fund balances for those 5 schools total almost $619 million, which on average are 70% of their yearly expenditures. Their fund balances are 70% of their yearly expenditures, which one of the cybers, it was like 120% of their yearly expenditures. Another one, the biggest one in the state, has purchased or renovated $197 million in real estate over the last the 3 years that they audited. Stunning amounts of money that come from the tuition that we have to pay them. And also, a lot of that tuition is from special education tuition, which is based on what we are needing to provide for our kids. We send a certain amount of that to cyber charters. And in turn, we know that they don't spend that all on special education for their students who they have for special education. They're putting it other places as well because they have so much of it that they don't need it for special education. So they're buying buildings, cyber schools. Juxtaposing this with the budget discussion that we just had a week ago, and knowing that our costs have gone up and we have a huge budget gap, I just had to note that report tonight because it is phenomenally wasteful that school districts around the Commonwealth, many of whom are still dramatically underfunded, are having to send millions and millions of dollars to cyber schools that have so much that they literally are sucking it away with no limits while we are having very difficult discussions. So that's an opportunity for advocacy. And I cannot imagine that I will not be focusing more on that in the next several months because it is stunning, the amount of money. And that's only 5 of the 13 or so cyber schools in the state. So I just wanted that on everybody's radar. I also want to note, Elias, and any of your fellow students, I'm really excited about the interest in advocacy. That is awesome.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
I try so hard not to comment on roundtable comments, so I'm gonna keep going.
I'd like to be their realtor, 197 million, calculate that commission in my head, oh.
And see, and
Maybe
then,
then I'll be invited to the realtor roundtable, I'll be successful then, huh?
then you have the small towns that are sucked dry because those monies are going in other directions, and then the taxpayers that are there in their homes have to be taxed higher because the school districts are in need of more funding to support the programs that are necessities versus luxuries, and then we tax people who've worked their entire lives out of their homes. It's not right. I'm not going to comment any further. Mr. Hilton, have any roundtable
Well,
comments?
Mrs. Johnson, I truly share your outrage. It is an outrageous situation. Aside from that, I have nothing further to say.
Thank you. Mr. Rodriguez.
I will only add one comment. A couple of days ago, I had the pleasure of sitting down with our United States Representative Madeline Dean. She asked all about what was happening in Pottstown, and I asked for 5 minutes with her so that she would, just cue other urban superintendents in if anything were to come down the pike. And we talked for so long, and she asked me so many questions and was genuinely excited about some of the progress that I was able to tell her about Pottstown. And then she invited herself to come visit us in the spring. So I'm happy to say that I accepted her self-invitation and said, we will absolutely bring you to one of our schools come spring once she has an opportunity in her schedule. So I was beaming with pride going out of that office, and I just wanted to share that moment. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. So I will try to be brief. First, I'm glad that our superintendent had the opportunity to share some information on the goings-on and how we are continuing to stay focused on our students, the safety and education of our students. That remains paramount. He was going to do this at a different time, but I felt it was very important right now, and he gets pushed in so many different directions. It was just best for him to be able to do it in this forum, and I'm so appreciative that he did. He's always prepared, and he tries to stay the course. Sometimes it appears that he is unilateral, but he is not. He is a part of the board, but certainly it is a relationship, and the board delegates in the same way that you hear things. It's not a unilateral decision, it is a joint decision. Second, I would like to say to the retirees I want to thank them again for their service. There's several years of service that they won't get those years back in any other capacity. So happy to have them being able to move forward in a different happy state that they have with their families and whatever they choose to do future. I wanted to thank Mrs. Oakley and the rest of her team for the audit. We received a rating of unremarkable, which is the highest rating. And if you think it's easy trying to keep a track of information and finances when you have a board like ours that is intent on being fiscally responsible, not because we think it's great, it's nice to be fiscally responsible. Everyone should be fiscally responsible in your own homes. It's even worse when you're trying to do it for students, when you know that you want to give them the world, the moon, the stars. But she did a wonderful job, her and her team, and I'm grateful for that. I also wanted to wish the community a happy Black History Month. I tend not to try to overshadow that with information, personal stories, and the likes, because we are comprised of a diverse population. It is not just one population, but if you've listened to me at any point over the years of me being here, you've heard me also celebrate Hispanic heritage, Pacific, Asian Pacific, and others. So happy Black History Month. I believe that Black history is all year long, so I don't tend to be the month person. It's every day for me, And so I don't walk around toting anything on my shoulder. It is just what it is. Ramadan is coming up the end of this month, I believe the 28th. So happy Ramadan as well to those. I wanted to thank the NAACP, Johnny Corson and his president of Education Guild for the continuous efforts that they've had to support our reading, supplying books and giving information to our students and families to help them. That's continuous, it's not one time, and I'm appreciative, as well as the churches who have all rallied to support our students and families in whatever need possible. And I believe that's all I have, I think. Any other comments from Roundtable that you may have thought of and missed? Yeah? Okay. So I will then ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.